Ahoy everyone, Tightrope here, and today we're taking a look at all of the immersion changes, as well as the feature additions made to Company COH3 and the 1.70 Onyx Shark patch. Adding to the immersion, they've made a bunch of vehicle suspension changes. They have added suspension to a few vehicles that didn't used to have it. Ultralight vehicles that have wheels should see the most exaggerated compression and rebound. Vehicles with treads should be more stable than vehicles with wheels at around the same size. And heavy vehicles should be the most stable. They have also made adjustments to how much lurch vehicles will show when they're setting off from a standstill and coming to a stop. Alongside of this, they've changed the amount of recoil vehicles experience when firing their weapons and added it to some vehicles that didn't used to have it. And vehicle impacts have also been retuned. This is how much the vehicle will move around when it gets hit by different calibers of weaponry. All of these suspension changes combined really add to the immersion, and they are probably my favourite changes of the patch. There was also a lot of work put into infantry deaths, starting out with ragdolling. They optimized ragdolling, so now they can use it more frequently without having a performance hit. They also made a bunch of physics changes to bodies and explosions, so now bodies should be launched into the air more often instead of off to the side, and units will drop their weapons when they die, and these will also react with explosions. They've also changed gibbing. This is when limbs become detached from the body and go flying off. They've been altered in mass, so they should fly higher than ragdolls. They've also changed it so that huge explosions will be more likely to cause gibbing, and small explosions you'll be more likely to see ragdolling. Finally, they made some new death animations for infantry, and they adjusted the randomness, so you shouldn't see a whole squad dying in the exact same manner anymore. There have been a load of changes to camera shake in COH3. First off, I want to say if you don't like camera shake, you can now turn it off or turn it down. In the menus, if you come to camera, there is now a slider here from 100% where it's set by default down to 0, so you can tweak it to your likings. They have added a different amount of shake depending on the class of vehicle that is dying, so we're going to start out with ultralight, the kitten crowd. More than I was expecting actually. Onto a light vehicle. Now onto a medium. Pretty similar, honestly, to the light.
Tank. Let's make it personal.
I feel like that one went longer, maybe more than more violent. They also mentioned in the notes that they want the screen shake to be able to communicate to the player things that are happening off screen across the battlefield. So I'm going to test that out here. Naval bombardment dropped right on this. Compare the before and after. That big shake at the start. Oh boy, okay. Yeah, there's like a big shift right when the shell initially hits, and then a lot of shaking thereafter, maybe a little bit too much. They have added screen shake to when some of the larger caliber weapons fire, as well as when the shell explodes. So things like howitzers and the Tiger, screen shake when they shoot, as well as when the shell explodes. You'll also notice that the explosion effects are a little bit different quite often. Maybe a bit more fiery, a bit more flashy. Got before and after here.
Make it loud.
They've added screen shake to a lot of the smaller caliber weapons, like the pack howitzer and the mortar. Before this used to have no screen shake whatsoever. There should also be more screen shake when a shot penetrates compared to when it bounces. So let's see how that goes. So it's bounce. I don't think I noticed like any screen shake there at all, camera shake. And, ooh, yeah. Yep, shake, shot penetrated. See the hell? So yeah, I think that's a good idea. It like communicates to you, the player, without having to really pay super close attention to the health bars as to what's happening. And that's one thing that they mention in the notes. They want to be able to communicate stuff to you as the player, stuff that's happening off screen, stuff that's happening on screen through the camera shake. And I'm a big fan of camera shake. You may think otherwise, given my rant I went on it on the pre-alpha, but they removed the Z-axis shake, which I think was one of the main issues with it prior to this. And yeah, I think it adds to the cinematic feel. I think I'll probably leave it on maybe at about 90%. They have made quite a few changes to the audio, which is good because I think this is the area of the game that has needed improving the most for quite a while now. So first off, we're going to focus on small arms fire. I recorded about 20 weapons before the patch, like close-up audio of them firing, and then compared that to after. I will say that I didn't notice much of a difference with automatic weapons, things like submachine guns, light machine guns. They didn't sound that much difference to me. The more distinctive changes were to more like the bolt actions. They also mentioned that they did an attenuation pass to these small arms weapon types. I think their goal here is that they want them to be relatively loud when they're on screen, center screen, but then for them to decay when they're close to the edge of the screen or off screen. We'll see how that goes here. Got 2 firefights set up here. Scouts versus Pies, pretty standard early game matchup. Pretty similar to before, I would say. Interesting. It feels like as you go from left to right, it fades out of like one side much quicker than before. Even when it's like relatively close to center screen like this still, it's way quieter in my left ear now.
We got them all riled up, boys.
Still on my screen, but basically inaudible at this stage. Really, really quiet. I think due to the changing camera angle in COH3 compared to COH2, having them being so loud when they're off screen like this below you it's just not that good, right? And conversely, I want them to be a little bit louder when they are on screen, but further away. So here I've got another matchup set up, Jaegers versus Riflemen. Doesn't seem to decay quite as much. I wonder if they've changed it so that, you know, this unit's getting shot at and the bullet's being shot here. Even though the unit's now quite far off screen, I wonder if they changed it so that because the unit's getting shot here, the audio is still quite loud. These units are quite close together. Maybe it seems to decay a bit faster, I'm not sure. Either way, yeah, I'm not really sure I like this change. You know, one of the things I used to like about playing COH2 was that you could be somewhere on the map, and if your ears were well tuned, you could hear stuff happening all over the show, and that helped you play the game better. Once you were well tuned, you would know, you'd hear this fight happening over here, and it would just be like there in your subconscious. Maybe this is better for team game players or something like that, I'm not sure, but for me personally, yeah, I don't think these attenuation changes are what I want to see from the sound change. I feel one of the main issues with the audio in COH3 are to do with the explosion effects. Quite a few of them I feel are just simply too loud, and on top of that, they kind of echo or reverb for quite a long time, so it kind of mutes you from being able to hear the next audio information. So they blast your ear and then they hang around for so long, and it just like muddies the whole audio scene. And it's just unpleasant. So I've got a bit of an example here. Like these Scots and Stugs. It's just so loud for what they're doing, right? It seems completely off kilter. And it's just unpleasant, you know? So I think I'm going to have to make a separate video about the audio issues in COH3 because these are not the changes that I was hoping for. They are continuing to tweak lighting and atmosphere settings on various maps with the aim to either improve style or visual clarity. Here are a couple before and afters on the 1v1 map Twin Beaches. And a couple before and afters on the 3v3 map Recoil. They have changed the way that the fog of war gets revealed and hidden. Here we have some before footage and you can see the sight is given and taken away very abruptly. And here we have some after footage. They have added some smoothing to the fog being revealed and hidden, which I think looks much better. Here is some before footage of a vehicle moving around. And here's the after footage of the vehicle. It looks so much smoother, it is very pleasing to the eye. Here we are in game with the new image quality setting maximum. Basically they've knocked everything down one rung and added this new tier, which you have to manually go into the settings to apply and restart your game for it to actually apply. They say this will stop terrain degradation towards the edge of the screen as you are moving the camera around, and this comes with a pretty severe performance impact. So I've got a 7900 XT graphics card, I run the game at 1440, and yeah, it is pretty noticeable the performance difference. Like as I was moving around previous to this, I'll be pretty much locked at about 160, which is, you know, my monitor refresh rate 165, so I've locked my FPS at that stage. But now you can see like the occasional like little bit of a stutter maybe, and I'm going down to about 120 frames per second as I'm moving around, and this is with, you know, like nothing else happening on the screen. So I think personally for me, I'm actually not going to use this image quality setting. I didn't really notice like that too much. It wasn't too distracting, like the edges of the screen being a bit blurry as you're moving around. It's certainly like super crisp now, but for me I think the performance versus image quality is just not really worth it. I was actually hoping this would change shadows. I don't know if you guys can see, but see how the shadows kind of in the line here and up here as I'm moving back and forth. They kind of switch from low to high quality. I find that more distracting than the image quality being a bit blurry towards the edge of the screen. So maybe if there was like an ultra setting for shadows or maximum for shadows, where the shadow kind of phase in was like less abrupt, like this, that's what I would appreciate. So I think personally I'm going to leave my image quality at ultra rather than maximum so that I can have more steady performance. They have redesigned the in-game Battlegroup menu and it looks so much cooler now in my opinion. They've got this nice new frame on it, confirm buttons proud here in the middle rather than small and off to the side. With this nice picture of the icon behind here instead of like a boring description. These nice arrows as well. The icons themselves, a lot of them have been redesigned. I think the vehicles in these are like higher res. They've got a nice like green background to them. Just looks way cooler overall. Really nice redesign on this. So I'm going to hit confirm. And then they've also added a new system here. I think mainly aimed at beginners, and you can turn this off. But say I want to select veteran crews. Now I have to hit accept here. If I don't, say I just exit out here, it hasn't actually selected it. So until you hit accept, you don't actually get that benefit. So yeah, aimed at new players maybe, so you don't accidentally select the wrong thing. But yeah, I think veteran players will turn this off pretty quickly because having to press like an extra button every single time you want to do something else, it's just too slow. And if you want to turn off that function, come into the settings menu, go to gameplay, deliberate Battlegroup unlocking, switch that to off. You can see that my squad is affected by a lot of status modifiers at the top here, and new this patch, now you can hover over their status bar and see exactly what all of them do. This will make it so much easier to learn the game. If you don't know what's happening, you can just select a unit and then come down here and see what's happening. Really, really good. Also now, if you use handbrake mode on a vehicle, there's a status indicator for that as well, so you can tell what's happening at just a glance. There have been a bunch of new camera control options added to the game, which is really nice. So you can see I've got 2 squads in control group 1. If I double tap one, we'll center the camera on one of the units in the group. I think previous to this, we'll kind of bring the camera between the 2 units and you'll be centered on nothing. And this was really no use to anybody. And what am I going to control here? So I think it's much better to do it this way. And I believe it centers on whatever unit is closest to the center of the group. You can see in control 2, I've got 3 units. Tap that twice, and it's the unit that's in the middle of the group, closest to the middle, that the camera gets centered on. So yeah, it's a nice option. On top of that, if I double click down the bottom here as part of a group, it will center the camera on that unit, which I don't think used to happen, which is kind of crazy. Definitely should do, and that's a nice addition. There are also a bunch of new camera control settings available in their menu. If you go to settings, controls not to camera, and then scroll down to the bottom here. So you can add like a follow option as well to a bunch of this. So we'll show you what that does. So say I've got a guard squad running as part of control group 2, hit 2, then if I double tap on this unit and it's moving, it will stay locked onto that unit in the center screen. Obviously you can break free of this lock by just scrolling or moving around or whatever, but it could give you a bit more fine-tuned control of your options. There is also a similar thing for control group 1, but you can see if I double tap 1 with control groups with that setting turned on, now it's doing the old thing where it's moving the camera halfway between the 2 other squads, which maybe is not ideal for unit control. Personally, I don't think I'll be using any of these settings, but it's nice to have those options available. Here we are in the quick match menu, and if you come up to faction selection, there is now a new option to random faction. So you can see here everything's all question marked out, and it specifies here that the last equipped battle groups for each faction will be automatically selected. So you might want to come into here, select your battle group, and equip this, confirm, get your battle group set up before you random. How this works, there is not a specific and separate rank for playing as random like you get with a lot of other games. Instead, you enter the queue 4 times with all 4 factions with your current rating, and will try find you a match as quickly as possible. And any wins or losses that you get while playing random will count towards that faction in that mode. You can also random as an arranged team. Here the party leader will select random, and then everybody else in the team will be locked into random as well. They say that this is the first iteration of the random functionality. They hope to add more, such as, say if you wanted to random as just 3 factions instead of all 4, or maybe some more options for randoming as arranged teams. But yeah, this is a good first step, and good if you just want to get into a match as quickly as possible. If you are queuing in multiple modes at once, 1s through to 4s, now you can hover over here and it'll give you a breakdown of the Axis vs Allies percentages for each different mode. The in-game friends list is now sorted alphabetically, making it easy to find people, invite them into your games, so that's good. Relic have added new functionality to player profiles. Inside of here, there's now a match history tab, and your 10 most recent quick match games will show. So anybody visiting your profile will also be able to see this, select what game they want to see, and then either watch it straight away or download the replay and watch it later. Now you can turn this off if maybe you're trying to hide your strats for an upcoming tournament with this button up the top here. It's not showing for me because all my games are from the previous patch. But we can go to maybe my friends list. See this guy, this is somebody who I played against recently. View profile, come to their match history, and now I can either watch or save the replay straight away. I will say that the first time you come to somebody's profile, if nobody else has tried to view it, it can sometimes take a minute and a half or so to load the match history. So be patient, go get a drink or something, come back, because it can take quite a long time to load initially. This match history function is a very cool feature to have, but at the moment I don't think there's any way to access these player profiles unless the player is on your friends list or you've played against them recently. There's no like in-game leaderboard where I could scroll down to, click view profile on, and then could access this match history. So that does limit the functionality quite a lot, and I could imagine maybe a bunch of high-ranked players are going to get a load of friends requests so people can view their replays. Relic have also added AFK detection to the game. I'll show you what it's like from the perspective of the AFK player first. After being AFK for 1 minute, a warning will flash up on your screen. Then after being inactive for 2 minutes, your team will get to vote on whether to kick you. You don't get to see this vote. If the vote succeeds, you will be kicked out to the lobby and receive a notification about it. So I've been playing the game for 2 minutes. My teammate hasn't done anything in that 2 minutes. So now I get a vote to kick coming up. Vote to kick Shadowwater. Inactive? Yes or no. You need a majority. So in this case it's just a 2v2. My kick. Vote alone.
Infantry are in reserve.
We'll boot
They
them
await
out.
deployment.
And now they'll be replaced by the AI. Relic didn't specify the difficulty level of the AI that replaces the player. So looking back at the replay, once the AI takes over the kicked player, they do not get boosted up resource income. So that means it cannot be the expert level of difficulty, most likely standard or hard. On that note, Relic have also improved the AI. They say they are better at repairing and preserving vehicles, ensuring they do not enter new engagements on low health. They're also smarter about using smoke and recon. They'll keep their infantry a bit more grouped up so they can support each other, and the AI's infantry will be less focused on trying to cap points that are deep into enemies' territory in the backlines, which often led to them getting wiped on retreat. Relic have also made a load of changes to the Italian dynamic campaign. They say they made emplacements stronger, but then gave you better access to planes because they want you to play more tactically. So instead of just like souping up one army, charging around the whole map with it, just conquering everything, they want you to use these more tactical options. They also made it so that during the enemy AI's turn, the camera will focus on the AI's actions so you won't miss things that could be happening around the map. So now, 1.5 years after the game came out, I think I'm finally going to give the Italian campaign a shot. You can see up until this point, I haven't even tried it. Relic have done a lot of great work on all of the immersion changes, which were sorely needed, and all of the new gameplay features as well. This is a really cool patch. Make sure to keep an eye out for my future videos about the gameplay changes and the balance changes as well. As always, a huge thank you goes out to my Patreon backers, and if you enjoyed this video, I hope you consider coming on board.